So let me introduce Tiago to you and his topic. He's an MVP cloud architect and advisor, a trainer, an author, and an international speaker, even before this global event that he's on right now. And he's done all of that in the regions of Microsoft Cloud. For the past few years, he's been architecting and developing solutions for Microsoft Azure for mostly Fortune 500 companies. And he religiously teaches Microsoft Azure classes around the world. He's got over 50 Microsoft certifications, including MCT, Microsoft Certified Trainer, and he got awarded as the MCT Regional Lead in 2016 and every year since then. And he's the founder of the Azure Portugal User Group. Now, also, what's interesting about Tiago is that his presentation is entitled, and I've got to do this in a James Bond style, because I can always imagine somebody coming up to him and saying, "Mr. Bond or Mr. Costa, I find your lack of Azure disturbing." Shaken, not stirred. Let's find out how Tiago Costa is. Let's bring him up live for you now. There he is. Those are very attractive headphones, sir, as well, I must point it out. Your fan club will be enjoying it enormously. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. That was I have to confess, that was the best presentation ever that someone did about myself. Okay, so yes, so today I bring you a presentation about how do I find the lack of Azure in some organizations still disturbing. And this is kind of also a reference to another TV show that you can't see, but I have some swag here on my wall. But basically that is kind of the idea. And so doing a short presentation, Michael already kind of did it, but basically I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. That's kind of the most important part of all this presentation. Yes, I teach and I do consulting on Microsoft Azure. That's the only thing that I do. I've been doing just Azure for the past years, and it has been challenging because the changes are so big, constant changes like all the time. So it is quite hard to keep up. After this presentation, if you want to keep up with me, just follow me on Twitter or just email me. That's fine. Okay, happy to help you with whatever request you have. The agenda for today is going to be pretty short. Our presentation, we don't have that much time, unfortunately, and it's going to be about what is cloud computing, what is Azure today, and what is the future, what is coming here for the future. And then we'll have some time there to answer some questions. So, what about cloud computing? I love this definition that I have here about cloud computing, because loads of people ask me, okay, yeah, cloud computing, we all know, yes, I can put some files on Office 365, I have email, but what is really cloud computing in like a very short sentence? And this is it, is when we can have the capability to deliver computing services like having a server that will host a web application, for example, a site, or just store some files or some databases with data about our customers or sales, or even networking capabilities, okay, like a virtual network that we need to put somewhere. And how do we get there? Well, we can get there usually over the internet. And because we have this and we kind of move our resources out of our control in our office, in our headquarters, in our sites, the idea is to shift this to a vendor. And the vendor, because they will have not only our infrastructure, but they will have the infrastructure of thousands of customers. As we all know, that brings an economy of scale that is quite considerable. And so, yes, we can have amazing savings because of that, and the cloud vendors will pass those savings for their customers. But more important than that is the scalability that I have. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. And that's a very important part of moving things to the cloud. But we have three types of cloud. What I was kind of explaining was more, and I was kind of focusing on what is the public cloud which is like a great example. It's Microsoft Azure for sure. But I also have other types of cloud. So we shouldn't only consider this, okay, here to be the only cloud. I can also have a private cloud, which is when I create a cloud, but in my own infrastructure, but I still manage my services as I manage them on the cloud. And again, Microsoft has a great product for that, which is Azure Stack Hub, which we also have some courses and some certifications on that. And we also have the hybrid cloud, which, let's be honest, it's where most customers are today, which is they have a private cloud, they have a public cloud, and then in some way, they want to connect them. Sometimes it's just for the identity parts. Sometimes it's a little bit more than that. But yeah, this is what we have. And then we have cloud models. And usually when I deliver my classes, this is like one of the first slides that I show when we have a new class of newcomers for like an Azure Fundamentals, an Azure Administration course, which kind of resumes a little bit what we have. So we have on-prem, and on-prem, we basically manage everything in the traditional way. And let's be honest, before cloud computing, we were using this, we were doing this, and we were happy. We didn't knew better. And we were like, yeah, and we would love to have our data centers. We would love to have all the servers blinking, loads of cooling there, so super cool rooms and everything. But then one day someone said, why do you have that? Can't we do this in a better way? And yeah, we can. And that's the idea. So I can shift some of those workloads and then into the cloud computing to a cloud vendor like Microsoft Azure. And then over there's like three models, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. I will just start with infrastructure as a service, where I don't have to manage hardware. I don't have to manage basically the storage, the servers, or the virtualization layer. But I still need to manage what we call virtual machines. So if you're a Windows administrator, a Linux administrator, well, yeah, a great chunk of your job is not going to massively change because of this, okay? It changes, but it's not a massive change. Where is a massive change is when you start to make use of platform as a service and things like Azure App Services or SQL databases, where we don't have anymore the concept of the virtual machine, of the server, the virtual server or the physical server, it doesn't matter, but we have a service. And the service is a database. And then we just drop our data there and we use it. And so this eliminates the machines in all of this. There's always a machine under it, but it's Azure that manages that. And this is where I don't need to patch, I don't need to upgrade this anymore. So there's no more projects like migrating from Windows Server version X-1 to version X that ends, because we're always working in the latest version. And then software as a service, which is like Office 365, like Microsoft Teams, and we all love Teams for sure, which allow us to teach online, allow us to have conference calls with our customers all around the world without having to leave our home, which is quite important nowadays. So talking about Azure, second largest cloud provider, bunch of regions worldwide. I think this is even outdated already. So it says 68, but I think we're already at 69 or even 70 right now. And we have a bunch of network and also a huge number of edge sites. And I really don't want to focus, on the numbers. They're just numbers, they change. What I want to focus is, these are big numbers. Microsoft has a goal to have one region in each country, at least in the major economies in the world. Still far away from in some regions. Sure, no question on that. But they're getting there, especially in Europe. If you see the map, and I'll show you the map, there is loads of regions now in Europe, like almost every single country now has their own Azure region, which is super important for basically for legal reasons. Okay, there's usually some data that we cannot move from our country, from the country from where the customer is or that company is from, due to legal reasons. And then, yeah, we need this kind of stuff. We need to have this. But we can also connect there through a private network. So it doesn't need to be through the public network. It can be from a private network, and that private network can reach bandwidths of up to 100 gigabits. I'll repeat to you, 100 gigabits of a connection that is just for you. That's a lot. Let's be honest. I don't know that many companies that need that capacity, and I work with very large companies, and that's basically what happens. This is the Azure regions, and I'll just bring you here the map so that you can see here. Yes, look, massively big, the number of regions, and you can see a great coverage worldwide that we have for regions, and Europe is very well covered. We have regions from Spain up to Greece, Austria, Poland, passing through the UK, France, Netherlands, Ireland, okay, and the Nordics with Norway, Sweden, Denmark. Okay, all of those are already covered, and yeah, some are missing there for sure, but they will be there in the near future. I'm sure about it. What is an Azure region? So sometimes we tell you, oh, an Azure region. There's one thing that is important for you to know about an Azure region, is that it is within a single country. So when we say, for example, there's one region that is called West Europe. That's usually how they name the regions. West Europe is in the Netherlands. And it's not just one data center, it's a set of data centers. This is just for you to see how big this is. This is like thousands of square meters of space of data center filled with servers, filled with storage area networks with a hard drive, so storage. And it's like bigger than factories of cars and things like that. It's really big. And they are all, one region is always within one country. So all of those data centers that compose that region need to be in the same country. Again, for legal reasons, so that we don't have a problem with that. What is Azure today, and why Azure? That's always a great question that people ask me, like, hey, Tiago, why should I move to Azure? Why me as a professional should I learn Azure? Should I get training on Azure? Well, there's a huge demand from customers today. It's like my profile on LinkedIn is pinged like every single day with 2-3 contacts. Like, hey, Tiago, we have a project with this. Hey, Tiago, we have a project with that. Always. So that the demand is not something that, oh, yeah, it's going to have a demand. No, it's here, period. Companies have a huge shortage of skills, and cloud computing, it's probably, if not, it is one of the worst, where there is a really huge shortage of skills. And then, more important than that, is it is fun to work with. And when I say this, I have to confess that I'm a very lucky person. And as a Microsoft certified trainer, when I'm teaching this, I really have fun. Really, I just wake up every day and I'm come here into my office and I'm like, hey, today I will have the opportunity to do this, and this, which is super cool things. And then my customers, okay, they still enjoy my work and they still pay me. So it's like a very, very, very happy times for me. I already had some works that I was not being challenged. It was not something that I love to do. And I know how the feeling is, to be honest. But this, no, it is really cool. And there is one thing. The cloud changes at such a fast pace that this is something that will keep challenging you all the time, because stuff that what was yesterday, tomorrow it's not going to be like that. You're going to have new services. You're going to have new features on the services. So you need to keep constantly being up to date. And so there's constant training needs on all of this, which is, in my opinion, is great, because, keeps pushing us out of our comfort area so that we can learn more and more and more. And then for the customer, to pay for what you use, that's like perfect. I love this option here, because this allows me, as a customer, to save so much money. I'll just tell you just a short story. One of my customers, they had 60 servers on-prem to respond to a workload that they had. And then Tiago gets there and said, why do you have 60 servers? Oh, because every week we have 4 hours of huge load on this that usually goes up to 45 servers. And, for peaks in some weeks, we might get to 55. So we got 60. Okay. And what about the not other 4 hours of all the rest of the week? Oh, 2 servers are enough. But they always have 60. They pay the licensing, they pay the hardware, they pay for them to be turned on, so the electricity, cooling, all of that. When we move them to Azure, guess what? We only have 2 servers, and then we have a predictable load. So, oh, you need more. Okay. And we get 40 or 50 or 60 or how many they need for that 4 hours a week. After those 4 hours, we just kill the other servers. And then again, they have 2. You can't even imagine the savings that this customer had. Okay. And then also very important today, cloud is a complex world. We run millions of cloud resources. We have not only Azure. Companies don't only have Azure. They also have Google Cloud Platform. They also have Amazon Web Services, so AWS, GCP. So we live in a multi-cloud environment. And yeah, Microsoft is aware of this. This is why when we build Azure Arc, when Microsoft has automation services and things like that, they also support Google Cloud Platform. They also support AWS, like Azure Sentinel, for example, is a great example for that. Natively supports those 2 platforms. Okay, and then cloud complexity, because Azure is no longer just that very small project within a business unit or within a project, a specific project in your company. Is organization wide. And we have multiple business units and multiple projects using Azure, and we need to govern this. So more and more important is topics like Azure governance in all of this to control the way that we work with Azure. Something that until, I don't know, like 1 year, 2 years ago, they were not that big of important topics. People just wanted to put stuff in the cloud, and that was it. And now I'll just leave you with this. What is the future of the cloud? Is it just run servers and let's just migrate virtual machines there? Oh my God, clearly not. Okay, clearly not. The future of cloud computing is what we call the intelligent edge and the intelligent cloud. This is the future, and the idea is that we're going to continuously expand a set of connected system and devices into the cloud and push that data into the cloud. I, for example, am a huge passion about IoT, and I have a huge passion of connected devices. I have tons of connected devices in my house that they all provide data, and then I can just start to take some interesting knowledge about the data that I can produce in here. Now imagine this in the scale of a company, in a factory, all of that data being pushed in here, like cars being pushing data here. And you see big manufacturers like Tesla, like Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, that they start to collect all that data from their cars into their intelligent cloud so that they can take something out of that. For that, we have Azure Sphere, we have HoloLens, we have drones, industrial assets. Okay, that we also with Azure Data Box Edge, which is something that can be locally on those sites that are more remote. Azure Stack, like in ships around the world, that there's very big ships, like the one that got stuck in the canal. Okay, they can all have data locally and then send that data to the cloud so that we can analyze that data and provide intelligence from that data. And yes, this is kind of the future of cloud computing is to put this in the hands of small businesses too, not just the big companies. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll just pass over to you, Michael. And so basically, this is my name is Tiago, and this is how you basically the future of your organization and your career with the cloud can be. Thank you.
Wow. I can see why you have a fan club, even with those sexy headphones. That's incredible. Tiago, thank you very much indeed. I mean, the standard of presentations today has just been superb. And, we're running so beautifully with time that we do have space for questions for you as well, for those people who want to put a live question into the speaker lounge right now. I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask you first up as well, if I may, because I just think, Tiago, that, there's such a big topic to cover, but you did it brilliantly. I'd like to focus on a couple of things with you while the other questions come in, if I may. One of them is cost management. And as you know, it's a massive topic in cloud computing. Yeah. Is it possible that you could just demystify that a little bit for me in terms of that topic? And is it, say, more expensive to run workloads on the cloud?
Yeah, so that's kind of a big concern from companies, which is they lose a very precise cost that they have when we're talking about running things on-prem. And companies are used to have I buy a server, I put it in here, and I run it, and I don't have to pay the server anymore because it's already paid. I just need to pay the licensing, and that's it. But usually what I tell people is, look, when you have, and I can ask you this to you, Michael, okay? I can pass the question to you if you don't mind. When you think about having water in your house, you know that if you spend more water, you pay more, right?
Sure.
Yeah. It's kind of, what kind of question is that? That's obvious. So because
it's a utility, I'm never gonna control how much I need. I just use what I need, and if I need a lot, I'm going to use a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to build infrastructure, to drill a hole, find water, take care of the water, control the quality of the water, and all of that. Same thing with electricity. We don't produce electricity, right? We just connect to the network, and bam, we just consume it. So with cloud computing, and we're just kind of shifting into that model of the utility model, which is when I need compute resources, and only when I need them, I'll just grab them and I will use them. And when I don't need it, because look, I don't have customers accessing my website, accessing my platform that does A, B, or C, hey, I can then do that. Okay, I don't need that huge capacity that I have, like we have today in some companies. Like I was saying, my customer, they had 60 servers. I was like, and they were not small servers. I was like, why do you have 60 servers? This is like in today's world, it's like, my God, what the hell are you doing? Because this is really, really a big expense that you have here. And they had savings of 95%. Okay, that's what happened there. So for sure, we need to take care of this, and we need to control the costs. But that's more controlling the costs. We need to have someone, and we need to understand what are we consuming and how does it is the building of that. But in the end, I can tell you that if you do a good approach in building cloud computing solutions, it will be cheaper than to run things on-prem. Also, another part of this is that you really need to put everything that you need to run those servers on-prem. Sometimes there are people like, oh, electricity, it's paid by the whole company. So you really don't know how much that server, that box, costs to run in a month. They don't have that data. And when you don't have that data, they put 0, which is not fair. So then in the end, they don't do a fair comparison. Yeah.
It's kind of intriguing for me. I watched a television program last night, by the way, where during the program they were taking nervous flyers through a session or an educational session on what flying is all about, and you don't need to be scared. I actually watched a woman yesterday ask this question on television last night. She asked the pilot who was giving the course. She said, "When we take off and fly through the cloud, can people see what I posted on Facebook?" Now, please, God, that's television in the UK for you. So, you know better than I know that cloud computing has changed the world. And no, you can't see Facebook posts when you fly through them. But how has cloud computing changed the world in your mind, Tiago?
It's like I can't even imagine today the world, to be totally honest with you, without the concept of cloud computing. And we saw, for example, yesterday there was an issue with one of the bigger CDN websites on the world, Fastly, and we saw the impact of that had so many websites that they were down because they kind of depend on this kind of services. So imagine a small company, a startup, and you want to build your product. Without cloud computing, you basically needed to buy servers and assemble servers. And imagine you're from the UK. You get some servers, you put it in your own data center, which has a huge cost. So this will just start to eliminate a lot of smaller startups. They couldn't start at all because of the big investment that they have to do in the beginning. And then, they need to expand for the whole world because it's kind of a business that needs to be reached from everywhere, like Facebook, like Netflix, like all those companies. And doing this, it's like so much easier today with cloud computing because I can deploy a web application or an app, mobile app or whatever, across the world to millions of devices or billions even of devices that they can access my application from here, from my chair, my desk, my office. And I could be on a coffee shop, I can be in the sea, I can be on the airplane even, okay? And sometimes before the pandemic, I used to travel a lot, and I did work flying over the ocean to the US. So
amazing. I love it. So, I mean, it's clear that you're an absolute disciple of this, and I love it. But very briefly, I've got a last final question for you, if I may.
Yep.
Imagine for a minute that I'm an on-prem focused IT professional. Very briefly, in your words, how and why should I move to Azure cloud computing?
Well, first of all, you should, because it's cool. All the cool kids are working with cloud computing, okay? And then, but not more for real. It's. I'm not saying that. Look, on-prem is going to end because we're always going to have the need for those, like we have today for COBOL developers. There's still some stuff running in COBOL or running in those very old languages for sure. But the thing that will happen is that less and less, you will have work. Because more and more people will start to move to the cloud, and eventually you're not going to have work. And when you do the change, it might be just too late. And I see that. So when I started, the cloud was so small that wasn't that hard to get started, to be honest. Okay, if I started today, and I see, because I teach this to people, when I started today, people are overwhelmed with so much that the cloud can do. And even that I worked with Azure for 10 years now. So I started right in the beginning when it was called Red Dog. I don't know certain parts of Azure. And I'm not going to learn them because I don't have the capacity to, learn and to be a state-of-the-art professional in all of them. I think that's what's going to happen. So I really advise everyone, sure, just go ahead and start with cloud computing, because eventually you're going to touch on that in your job, in if not today, in the very, very, very near future.
It's coming. Tiago Costa, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day, and that's why you're a headliner on this program. Sadly, time is against us, but I know that you're available. You're going to go into that speaker lounge now as well. Your private group is there. If anyone wants to know anything further, please jump across there while we're moving ahead with our program. But Tiago, on behalf of everybody, sir, an absolute thanks to you. And wow, thank you. And from your fan club, we love you, Tiago. And when Michael Jackson says, we love you, you know that we mean it, right? Thank you so much, sir.
I know that.